Hi, I'm Kim and you're watching Kim Wilson TV. My channel is dedicated to helping victims of narcissistic abuse get free and stay free. Before I get going with this video, I just want to take a moment to thank our friend Allison very much for your donation to our channel's PayPal account. You are in a narcissistically abusive relationship. You can see what's going on. You can feel what's going on. The abuse is impacting every aspect of your life. You can't think clear, and for many of us, horrendous physical symptoms are starting to appear. Your brains are scrambled. You're an emotional wreck. You feel like you're living on eggshells. And someone says to you, "Why didn't you just leave?" Well, how frustrating is that? Because certainly people did say that to me, and I want to talk about that today. So why don't victims just leave? Why is it so hard to leave? I mean, when I look at my own experience, there I was surviving in it, not living in it, but barely surviving in it, watching everything that was important to me fall apart, but somehow I managed to remain in that. Yet the concept of getting free, stopping the abuse, going on to restore my life and to be happy seemed, oh my God, it seemed like a nightmare. It seemed like I couldn't do it. It seemed like mission impossible. Meanwhile, living in it seemed very doable. There are certainly very real reasons that would slow down a victim's departure from a narcissistically abusive relationship. Maybe there are children involved, joint assets, a home, businesses. Maybe you don't have the money. Maybe you're physically, mentally, emotionally drained and just don't have the physical strength to get up and go. Maybe your support network has dwindled away, which is all too common. Maybe there isn't a family member or a friend who's got a sofa or a spare room for you. And these are very real issues, but I think if we take these issues one by one and look at them as I had to while I was planning my exit strategy, you can come to see that these things, well, you can overcome them. The financial issues that you may be experiencing right now, the lack of financial resources, those things in time can be smoothed out. I mean, yes, financial issues are a very real problem and you can smooth those out. Child custody issues can be remedied, with the help of a lawyer advocate and, a just court system. There are ways to smooth out these problems, though these problems are very real. They can be addressed. What the bigger problem is the mindset, the mind control. We've talked about gaslighting a lot, and I cannot emphasize enough the dire condition that gaslighting will cause in a victim. Gaslighting is the changed perception of reality in a victim. For example, the belief that you will be nothing without the narcissist, the belief that you cannot survive without the narcissist, or that your life has been altered beyond repair. Many of us have become convinced that the narc was our soulmate. This was our one shot at real love. And walking away is, well, in many ways, a surrendering of what you believe to be your one true love in life. There's also this mindset that the narcissist is broken and that you can somehow fix them. Remember, when you first meet a narcissist, they will often put you up on a pedestal, idealize you, and as Trevor did to me, tell me many times that his life was better with me, and had only he met me sooner, he wouldn't have faced all the challenges he had faced. So I'd come to feel very special. I'd come to feel important to him, like I somehow had the ability, the magic power to fix him, help him, make his life whole. And I guess I liked feeling that way. Truly, in my logical mind, in my heart of hearts, I know that I don't have the power to make anyone happy. That belongs to each and every one of us. We decide how we're going to live our lives, how we're going to approach life in general, how we're going to interact with people, where our ambition levels are going to lie. We are responsible for our own happiness, our own success. We cannot force happiness on someone. We cannot force wellness on someone, no matter how hard we try. So when you start looking at the bigger picture of why we don't leave, it comes down to something I've mentioned a million times. It really is mind control. It really is that impact of gaslighting, these concepts that we just can't leave because there's nothing beyond the relationship. This is it for us, and to leave would somehow make our lives much worse than it already is. When you're living in a situation that is absolutely odious, you can't sleep, you can't think straight, you're getting physically ill, your brains are scrambled, your emotional regulator's broken, your hands are shaking. In my case, I was stuttering, my nose was bleeding, and I'm thinking, oh my God, I can't leave. It's worse out there. And it was already so bad. So, I mean, the possibility for me, to just pick up and go to the unknown, go to what was potentially going to be worse, it was just unimaginable to me. All of that distorted thinking, all of that crazy thinking was the product of the gaslighting. It was the manifestation of my altered perception of my own reality. The effects of gaslighting had caused me to form a habit of being a victim of abuse. I had formed a habit of being abused. I woke up every morning feeling dread. I made coffee every morning feeling afraid, on eggshells, saying, oh God, just don't screw up the coffee. The coffee had become the bane of my existence. And once Trevor would get up, which was usually about an hour behind me, he'd come up the stairs and he would say, so did you screw up the coffee again? And I'd say, no, Trevor, I didn't screw up the coffee. And he would say the same thing every day. Well, there's a first time for everything. It was my morning habit. That's what I did every morning. I got up an hour early. I was scared to death. I just wanted the day to go smoothly. And in my mind, making sure everything was spotless, the coffee was made, all of these things led me to believe that somehow his day would start better and the day might go smoother. Now, I could have very easily stopped that habit and just not made the coffee, or made a cup of coffee for myself and told him to get his own bloody coffee. But I had become a victim of that habit. That was my habit, and that's what I did, and I did it every morning without failure. In fact, even once I got free, and I mentioned this in a video once, I was living in my own home in another province, 4 hours from the House of Pain, and every morning for a month I got up in a heightened state of panic and very carefully made the coffee in my own house, until one day I went, oh my God, what am I doing? I was in the habit of being a victim of abuse. Now, habits are kind of interesting things because a habit isn't formed overnight. A habit forms over a period of time. In fact, most experts say it takes 90 days to solidify a habit. It also takes those same 90 days to break a habit. I think the biggest reason why we don't leave is because the habit of being abused has been formed. When I look back on the time I was in that narcissistically abusive relationship and in that house of pain, I can see very clearly the habits I had formed. I lived life very gingerly. I picked my words very carefully. It would never occur to me to just come in and kick my shoes off. Are you kidding? Everything was lined up. Everything was done a certain way. I had formed a habit, and added to that newly formed habit of being an abuse victim, I did these things in a heightened state of panic and stress and anxiety and fear, and so worried. So I think all of that was amplified. And then I get free. And then I get in the habit of feeling bad, feeling sick, staying in bed, wallowing in misery, wondering if I had done the right thing by leaving, wondering if I should break no contact, questioning, was it me? And that habit started to form. And certainly that mindset, that habit of questioning myself, doubting myself, had gone with me when I left the abusive relationship. And one day I realized I need to change my mind. I need to reprogram the way I'm thinking. And what I ultimately started to do, well, was just that. I started to form a habit of healing. The old habits, of course, die hard. And when my mind would say things like, Kim, you're a loser, Kim, you can't do anything right, no wonder there were so many problems in the relationship, you're a catastrophic mess, I started to form the habit of, well, rebuttal. And I would say, no, that's not true. Actually, I don't have a lifetime history of being a loser, an epic failure, a mess. No, there is no documented evidence of that. There is no history of that. There is no pattern of that. That is false. And every time that noise would start, there would be the rebuttal. That's not true. And I started to form the habit of, well, standing in defiance of what my mind was saying, standing in defiance of the programming that the gaslighting had, well, instilled in my mind. A new habit was forming, the habit of standing in defiance to this crazy narrative. New habits started to form that led me to be able to maneuver my way around my own house in peace, not afraid of making coffee, not afraid of having a dish in the sink, not afraid that my shoes were a little askew at the front door. New habits were forming, and with each day I was getting liberated from the habit of being abused. All of the negative habits that had formed when I first left were now starting to dissipate. I was no longer in the habit of wallowing in misery. I was no longer in the habit of staying in bed. I'd broken the habit of drinking a bottle of wine every night. All of these crazy habits that seemed to manifest in my life as a result of leaving were now starting to dissipate too, and new habits were being formed. I was starting to think more positively. I was starting to reprogram myself. Every time a negative thought would show up, I could very quickly stand in defiance of that and say, no, that's false. That is factually incorrect. I really come to realize that if some putrid narc, if some horrendous monster, someone so willing to harm me and sabotage me and stab me in the back and watch my life fall apart with a narc smirk on their face could program my mind, I had come to absolutely understand that I could reprogram my mind. I could change the way I was thinking. I could change my daily behaviors. I could form new habits, habits that would lead to a better life, better relationships with my children, more security in my home. I could start to restore my finances, rebuild my career, form new friendships. I'd started to recognize that I could form the habit of living life well. Initially, when I got free, of course, I saw that long list of damage, as all of you have seen. And in the next couple of videos, I want to talk about that list, those things that I really needed to address, those challenges that I needed to tackle to really get some momentum on a healing path. And there was one thing in particular that I really focused on. I want to talk to you guys about that, and hopefully that'll be helpful to you as well. To wrap this video up, I just want to say that I do recognize that I had been in a pattern of being abused. I had definitely formed a habit of being an abuse victim, and early in my recovery I was forming the habit of, well, being broken and questioning everything and doubting myself. And it was ultimately a new habit that was formed that really set me on a healing path and will help me to see some real change in my life and make some real strides in recovery and start to feel normal again. And it was, well, probably longer than the 90 days because I really wasn't aware of that whole habit forming, habit breaking process. But ultimately, that's what happened. Bad habits had been formed, bad habits had been broken, and new habits, more positive, life enriching habits were formed for me and can be formed for you. Feeling bad today, if you're feeling like you can't go on, if your life is ruined beyond repair, if you are doubting your own sense of integrity, if you are doubting how much personal strength you have, start by changing that habit of thought. When those negative ideas pop up, address them, stop them dead in their tracks, stand in defiance of that negative mental programming. Remind yourself that there's a reason why you were targeted, and that's because you're a fabulous person. You may not have been the target of love, but you were most certainly the object of envy. You had something so special that narc needed it, and that narc saw it as supply. There's something incredible about you, and you can remind yourself of that every single time negative programming pops into your head. Guys, thank you so much for standing by me. Every time you watch a video, like a video, and share a video, it certainly does help. And for some reason, I've been demonetized. I don't know what it is I'm saying in these videos, but somebody doesn't want me getting the word out. So I want to thank you all very much for your donations to the channel's PayPal account. Your continued support has been great, and this journey with you guys has truly changed my life. I'm Kim. You're watching Kim Wilson TV. I hope you're all having a great narc-free day.